Shopify store owners, is your Google Merchant Center account currently banned? In this video, I'm going to show you how I help e-commerce store owners like you get their account approved so they can generate more sales like this, even if they dropship. All right, so to get you started really quickly, if you're already a pro, you can click on the spreadsheet that has the actual quick start checklist that you can look at specific issues with your product. So here you can make a copy of this by going up here, file, make a copy, and then rename. So you can actually make edits or check off certain aspects of this here. But if you quickly want to see through this right here, you'll see that there is a Google Merchant Center section, and it talks about different aspects of your business that would need to be or could possibly be causing the suspension or product disapproval. So you can look at business info settings, and I go in depth on all of this in the actual video. So you can continue watching to see those actual step-by-steps. But if you think it's a specific issue, you can just jumpstart here. You can look at business tax settings, and then actually on your e-commerce store is a big reason why you could be getting disapproved. So it could be branding, you're missing contact information, legal pages, misleading information, pricing and payments, and a wide range of different issues that could be causing this that I'll go into more depth here. Also, as you're going through this, you or a team member could also put the statuses. So whether it's complete, will automatically turn green. If it's under review by Google, it'll be yellow. In progress will be orange as you're working on it. And then not started will be red. So you can essentially just go through all of this and have a bunch of not started, have project management, have your VA look at this, but I definitely recommend that you as a business owner look at this as well, so that you can make sure you're not missing anything. And when you're actually requesting the review, you're not getting tripped up by Google and them re-disapproving because you're not taking your time and looking through this checklist step by step. All right, number two, I'm gonna have a link to my previous video where I go in depth on actual product disapprovals. So this is a very popular video. People found it very helpful because it goes by step within Google Merchant Center on each and every single type of product disapproval that you could think of. And that's documented on Google Merchant Center. It's much easier to follow than actually reading the help articles because they're very cryptic. So you can click below, and I'll also link this video above. So you can go to that and watch that before continuing through with this video here. Cool. So if you're at this point right now, then you want to go through the entire, essentially free Google Merchant Center disapproval course for Shopify. And this will give you step-by-step direction on how to fix this disapproval so you can start making sales as quickly as possible. Overview, we just looked at the suspension checklist. So if you're already a pro, you can just quickly go to that checklist, see step-by-step where you think you might be missing somewhere, or if the Google support gave you a cryptic message and you're just like, I'm not sure what that means. You'll be able to go to that checklist and skip around through this video to figure out where you need to fix this issue. Number two, we're going to be going really in depth on the Google Merchant Center account as well as your e-commerce store. A lot of people just overlook this. They're all about the ads, Google Merchant Center, but they forget like your store is what Google's crawling. They care about, your customers care about. So this is extremely important. It's like a 50-50 split. Like if your ads in Google Merchant Center aren't optimized, and your website's not optimized, you're not going to get any sales at all, regardless of how it is. And then finally, we'll have a section on how to do the review, like tips and tricks, not to go too quickly to do a review. Make sure you have everything approved before finally popping through. So for the business information section, you're going to want to include your business info, have accurate information and details everywhere. Get a physical location that's not your home address or something random, because Google can't check this if it's not one-to-one and the same everywhere. Get a real number as well, not your personal number. There's different services where you can have the hours of time that you can actually get calls. This is very important to Google, and this is one of the factors that they look at when disapproving people that are just like drop shipping or giving bad customer service. And also have a branded email address. So what that means is essentially don't just have like ted@gmail.com. That'd be a cool email to have. It's probably not available anymore, but you want to have your actual domain of what in my case would be like ted@TGQ Marketing. So these are all factors that you really want to look into and make sure you have the proper business information. And also, like you probably heard in all these courses, my domain.shopify, you don't want to have that. Invest in your business. It's a business. have a real domain, um, be legit, and Google will reward you by giving and showing customers to you. All right, next for your website tab within Google Merchant Center, you're gonna wanna make sure this is verified and claimed. So the best way to do it typically for my clients in Shopify is just to add this code to your theme.liquid file. So essentially you go into here, you copy this meta tag here, and you can see that it says put in the head before the body section, and then click verify after it's done. So essentially you wanna go to your Shopify store, go to online store themes, click edit code. And then once you're in the code, you want to go to your theme.liquid, and you can just search through Control F and just look for the head tag. You can see this is the head tag. So you essentially want to add the code given here, go down here, click save. I'm not going to save it in this case because this is not necessary for this example. But then once that's added, you click verify website, and the website will then be verified, and you'll be good to go. And this will be another box that's checked for Google to approve your Google Merchant Center so you can start getting sales. All right, next we have the branding tab in Google Merchant Center. So you can actually add your brand's actual colors here by either looking at your logo or if you have a brand guidebook, you can definitely add that here. So you have the hex codes and this here. And if you're not 100% sure what your color should be, one tool that I use is Image Picker. So you can essentially upload your logo and then like scroll through here and see what the actual hex code is and just put that into Google. So you don't have off shades. It's just good for branding purposes. And also you want to upload your square and rectangular logo, very important because this is going to be used on smart shopping campaigns and performance max campaigns, which I have videos about on the channel as well. And you just want to have this looking correctly and it's not rejected. Like in this case, you can see the formats and dimensions that you're going to want to have. You can easily use different tools to reformat or resize your logo. You don't want it to be too blurry or whatnot. This is another, like these small details are very important to get your Merchant Center approved ultimately. All right, now we have everyone's favorite taxes. So tax settings are very important for various reasons, depending on their country, where you're selling, if you want to take sales tax into your products for margins. So a lot of the times you can check two different things. You can use the same settings as your main account, which pulls from Shopify, or you can set specific rates for certain states if you're in the United States. And I'll add resources below for different countries and regions. But I think the best advice I can give you is make sure that when you're taking taxes, you're taking the proper amount depending on your business for your regions, and you're not qualifying different taxes because this can get you disapproved. If you're doing like a custom sales tax and something messes up, I wouldn't do that. So talk to that tax professional. And essentially when it comes to things like tax settings, shipping settings, make sure that your business is set up in the back end of Shopify the correct way. And you're just reflecting that in Google Merchant Center so that it's just very clear and one-to-one to Google that you're not changing anything, that the product page, you're charging taxes on the checkout, and it's not being charged here. That's the biggest takeaway. Otherwise, Google can automatically upload this. All right, so for shipping settings here, you want to go over to shipping and returns. And the biggest thing that I see here on clients when they have shipping disapprovals or policy errors at all is when whatever you're adding for shipping is not matching what essentially is on your checkout process, what people are actually getting charged. So there's a couple different ways to do it. So number one is to not add any different shipping rates from in your actual back end of Google Merchant Center and have your Shopify settings just reflect what you actually want to show people. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is flat rate shipping. So if you have just flat rate, a fixed range of say you have US shipping rate, if people are under $49, you just charge them like $8, and then everyone else is free. That's one way to do it. Or you can have different Shopify partners that you can actually link. So say you're using an app such as ShipStation or Sales and Orders or Simprosis, and this is linking and automatically charging people based on where they're located, how much they spend, the size and weight of a product, then you'll link that here, and that will probably be the best, instead of having to add fixed variations for platforms for actual shipping. Another aspect of this as well is the different countries. So you definitely want to break out different ranges if it's going to change drastically for different countries, or if you're going to have like a free shipping promotion for a certain period of time. You don't need to put this here. This would actually be in the promotion section of your Google Merchant Center account. And this would be completely different from shipping. So if like you have free shipping for like X amount of time for a certain category of products or items, then that would be a limited time offer. So that'd be in promotions. You wouldn't put it here. This is like more evergreen, always here shipping settings that you'd look at. All right, now on to your actual e-commerce store here. If I can move my face. So this is very important for you to get your mindset correct about why Google's essentially banning your store. If your Google Merchant Center account is properly fixed, it's most likely your actual landing page experience and your website. So you need to be building brand and being future focused is essentially, it sounds cheesy, but that's very important. Why you're getting disapproved and what Google's looking out for ultimately. You got to always be focusing on like what's a good buyer experience for the user. That's important to succeed on Google. Google has a powerful AI, and it really wants to get scammers or people that want to fly by night, just make $500 on like a drop shipping store that's not done legitly and have unethical business practices, whatnot. So if it sounds fishy, then just avoid it. Try to just offer the best value to your customers. Yeah, so you essentially just want to look branded and professional, and just like having that good buyer experience. Like, would you buy from your site is a big thing I think about. So ultimately, Google's AI can look for like different like broken English on your website. You're copying different suppliers. Like if you're just going on AliExpress, copying, pasting the descriptions, that's not right. Google knows it's not right. Everyone knows, so that's what's going to get it disapproved. You're not really selling or adding any value. Your pages aren't completely finished. Like if like if you're quickly making a store in an afternoon, you know that you can add more value. These are templated. A lot of people just follow dropshipping courses, and they essentially make a templated dropshipping site that they would never buy from. Google can also reverse image search images, like we've all done it. So if they see that your supplier has the same stock photo and then 5 other people, and then you post it, trying to get your Google Merchant Center up and running quickly, it's going to be auto banned. The algorithm's going to do it, and they're not going to listen to you. And you're like, oh, I just grabbed this image. I don't know why I'm banned. They're just going to give you a templated response that they just think it's misrepresentation. But I'll tell you straight that it's because you're copying images. Simply buy the product, take unique photos, and it'll be better. Google systems are also getting better and better by the day. Watch out for misleading copy as well. I'll talk more about, so you're not just like overinflating your brand, lying, adding fake trust badges, whatever. And Google can also do like manual checks on your website. So after you're going through the review process, like way later down, Google actually has real people that will go to your website and be like, oh, they optimize everything for an SEO or the search engine, but like it's so clunky, bad experience. Like it just seems so unbranded and just like dropshippery. And another like sanity test is, would you buy from your site? And avoid apps that certain scammers would use. So those countdown timers, all that type of stuff. It's just like all things that Google is looking out for. A lot of people kind of turn a blind eye. That's very important. Yeah, so like I mentioned, Google has a lot of data from like Google Chrome, Google Analytics, Android, including the data you give in your Google Merchant Center account and any linked Google Ads accounts you also have. So it's looking and leveraging all this stuff for your benefit or for your negative. So it can find like these scammy websites, basic Shopify themes. It will find these trends, and it rather auto ban people that have this, that could be legit businesses, rather than let scammers through the system at this point, because ultimately they're competing with Amazon and you can't get a bad experience going through here. Another very important thing that Google looks into is how people interact on your site. I know it's mind blowing, like, but if you have a lot of bounces on your site, people are just going there for a second, not buying anything, leaving because they just get the ick factor. We'll look at bounce rates, loading time, how fast your site is. Like I mentioned, manual checks to see if it looks branded. So just optimize your site overall, like put in the time, put in the work, and after you go through like the checklist and all of this course, you'll really be more proud of your business. Your customers will be happy, and Google will be happy, and everyone wins. Okay, like I said, sanity test. Would you buy from your own store? Don't make your website look like it will steal a credit card. Um, Watch out for spelling mistakes, design mistakes, stock photos. If you're generally rushing, that's bad. People aren't dumb. A lot of people are shopping on e-commerce every day, so they're seeing these things when they got scammed, like from 2017 up to now. And if they think that you're a scammer, they're gonna treat you like a scammer and leave. Give bad reviews. Simply put, in effort is the main factor. Also, a big another thing that Google looks into is like essentially a quality score. Is essentially when they see your ads, do people expect to click through on your actual ad? Um, how people actually interact on your actual site, and how much you're actually bidding. These are all like quality score metrics that Google has. So, would your site actually get a good quality score when you think about it? So, things such as like slow load speeds, tons of apps, stuff scammers use, how old your domain actually is. So, if you just like fired up your domain um, yesterday, that's definitely going to affect this. So, that could be a factor. You could get banned, or it'll just be like another nick onto your actual um, validity in the market. So these are all things to like really keep into account, so you actually know how Google's rating you, and it's not just a black and white thing. It's many different factors. Specifically, this is how Google categorizes drop shipping. So essentially, promoting products that are not stocked. So technically, it is banned, but there's certain ways to go about it. So Google doesn't know that it's not stocked because they can't actually be in your warehouse or anything like that. It's mostly about shipping times and customer experience. So that should be your main focus if you are being a drop shipper. So does Google hate drop shippers? So not necessarily. It really hates bad customer experience and slow shipping time. So this is the biggest factor. So if it looks at your shipping page and it's like a 2 week wait, then it's gonna think that you're drop shipping because you probably are. And this leads to bad customer experience and then people complaining and then them going to Amazon instead of Google, which they don't want because they're going to lose market share. So you want to play to Google's favor. So ultimately, show slow shipping times, poor quality product, and uncommitted store owners is what Google doesn't like. Um, and this happens to fall for a lot of dropshippers, but other dropshippers could do it properly where it looks branded and whatnot. So you don't have this issue. So Google isn't psychic. It doesn't know that you don't have a physical warehouse, but it definitely has clues. So it can look at the same image, same product descriptions and titles. So if you're using all this, like I mentioned, from the supplier, then it's gonna basically use this algorithm to be like, oh yeah, pretty sure this guy's a drop shipper, ban him. And other scam sites could have the same products, photos, or whatever. So if that's you, you need to update all of these things, take it seriously. And you can still drop ship. Just buy one of your products, take custom photos, images, fill out the description for your target customer, sell. Um, and Google can reverse an image text. So that's the most important thing when actually building a business. So yes, you can still drop ship, but like I said, take your own photos or hire a photographer or send it to an influencer. Get these types of things going. Write your own product descriptions, make them unique. Don't import reviews. If you don't have any reviews, that's better than essentially importing reviews because that's going to get you auto banned. You also don't want to copy anything from the supplier. Always think about the customer. If you have to get reviews from friends and family that use the product, send it to them. They can give honest reviews. You don't want to game the system. Yeah, but I hear this all the time. My competitors are drop shipping. They haven't gotten caught. yes, there can be certain aspects. You can have like a mixed model of like some parts of the website are being drop shipped, and then other parts are actually legit in stock products. You can have a mix. But just because they're not suspended now doesn't mean they won't get suspended in the future, or they're not getting refunds or returns. So never compare yourself to other people. Always think about the customer and putting them first. Yeah, they just haven't gotten caught yet. Don't try to do minimum work. Essentially, you want to think about the customer, be long-term business minded and not short-term focused. But you can still drop ship certain items or all your items, but just make sure that it's a good branded experience. All right, cool. Now on to legal pages, everyone's favorite. So under the legal pages, returns, refunds is a big aspect. So you want to clarify every single type of way that someone would return and would you give them a refund. And this is all according to your business. The more favorable these returns are, the better it is going to be for your conversion rate, because people won't be scared that they can't return because they have to call someone in India to get a return and they have to pay $100 shipping or whatever. So you want to make it as easy as possible for people to return and have a good product so they don't return. So exchanges you want to discuss, changing people if people change their mind. Is it only when people break stuff? Is it only when it's damaged on arrival? If they get the wrong product? But if it never arrives, cancellation after ordering, like what is the time frame of all these different circumstances? You want to be very, very meticulous about this, and it's going to take time. You don't want to just copy the Shopify one because it couldn't be favorable to your business. If you're selling washing machines, it's going to be different if you're selling jewelry. So it's very custom and unique to your business. You don't want to just copy other dropshippers because that's going to get you banned. So all these things come back to putting in more effort. Okay, so kind of like how I mentioned, shipping pages, returns and refunds page, terms and conditions, and privacy pages. So make sure you have all these pages. We want to make sure that you can easily find them, and they're located in the footer. Better that if people can contact you in the top right as well with the phone number. Make sure they're clear and not misleading in any way possible. Let's talk about specifically what is misleading copy. And don't copy and paste from the supplier. This is going to be an ongoing theme, and like why people get banned in Google Merchant Center, and why you need to. It could be good for you if you're not copying and the scammy traffic is gone. And Google is still going to reverse search these legal pages as well. So make sure you're not copying. So if your returns and refunds page is causing suspensions, it has unclear or non-existent returns. Some parts of the language could be missing, and there's a support document that talks all about this. So you can see here explicitly, what does the user need to do? What circumstance? The time frame? When a user can expect a refund. So these are all things as a business owner you should know, and that you need to communicate clearly to Google. So just to kind of go more in depth, like what do they need to do to get their item? How should they contact you? Should they be calling you, email, contact form? Like you need to go this in depth because Google cares, customers care if they actually want to return. Do they need to ship the product back to you? Like you have to think about these things. Or are you just going to send another product to them? What is the address they're going to be sending it to? Do they need to take photos of the item? Like you need to think about all of these different things if you're getting banned. Even if you aren't getting banned, you should fill this out because kind of like the people that are drop shipping that aren't banned yet, you not having some of this stuff can affect your conversion rate. Google can later on see this page and maybe ban you. So you want to be thinking about this for the future as well. All right, so time to receive their money back as well. Kind of like how I mentioned, how long does it take to receive the money? It's like, is it sent in like 3 business days, immediately? How are they getting it? Detail every single step of the process. This stuff can be boring, but it's crucial. How do they get the refund to their card? Are you only going to give them like store credit? Whatever it could be. This needs to be all documented. Okay, cool. Now onto the shipping page. This is very important because it affects Google Merchant Center and the backend of Shopify and your actual website. So you need to be as clear as possible. Make sure your shipping pages matches your Google Merchant Center, kind of like how I mentioned before, because it's all pulling from your the business influencing the advertising and not the other way around. Uh, these are make sure that the actual shipping locations, where you ship from, that should be there. Um, how you ship, postal services, cost of shipping, time to ship to each location, whether it's the United States, Canada, whatnot. Information on tracking as well. So like, how do they track their order? A lot of people always get hounded with customer service. I'm like, people are like, where is my product? Where is my order? So if you put that in the FAQ shipping page, then people would know from there. And what if they never receive their item? These are all important things to have. And if you're missing them, this could be a reason you're being disapproved. Cool. Now into the terms and conditions here. So this outlines how people interact, and this can protect you from liability. It can clarify your store's checkout process. You want to read this because a lot of people just like make the Shopify template and use that, and that you can get away with that. But you want to make sure you're very sure that like your IP or intellectual property and trademarks are protected as you start to grow, and how you handle and resolve disputes. Read this before putting on your website. Simply, just do it. Even if you're not getting disapproved for it, look at the terms and conditions and edit it if you need to. All right, awesome. Now on to branding. So branding, why do you care? You just want to make money, right? Google wants your store to be trustworthy and professional on their platform. Most disapproved stores don't have a brand. It's a strong correlation because they either don't care about their store, it's cutting corners, they get manually reviewed and they look grammatically incorrect and they have a bunch of issues. And these are all bad. So it's like they have no collections of products, no customization. It's just like a templated store. If this is you, you know who you are. It doesn't build any trust. You're not going to get sales. So Google's kind of helping you because if you can't sell on Google Merchant Center, you probably wouldn't get sales in the first place. So you want to make sure you have a brand. So you want to have customization. Make sure your logo's not blurry. Um, do you even know who you're selling to? Like, can you say like the exact like age, gender, um, what they do for work, what their problem is, why should they buy from you and not your competitor? Do you know who you're selling to? If you don't, it's going to be hard to brand because you don't know who you're speaking to. Your homepage says a list of products, no story. Your URL is like discounts.com, like stuff like this. Like these are all things that factor to the branding, the manual review, and if Google allows you to be on their site. And overall, it's just like it's like a spammy site. Like, would you sell stuff to your mom on your site? Like, if you can answer that, then if you say yes, then you probably have a brand. If you say no, then you should need to work on your brand. Okay, poor English. So this is essentially just like when you have English errors on your site, whether you're just rushing through it and you're a native English speaker, come on, just go back, make sure there's no grammatical errors, check out everything because like even typos, I wouldn't want to buy from a site that has a typo because I'm like, what other mistakes are they making? Bad grammar, like if you're from a different part of the world, you could also have errors. So I would look into tools like Grammarly or have a native English copywriter look at your site. Um, Try not to have like an awkward use of the language because English is tough because there's very subtle things that people will see. And it's hard to know if you're not a native speaker or if you're just rushing through your site. So this is another factor of why people get disapproved if you have a bunch of grammar issues. All right, now into pricing discount errors. So this is a big issue I see a lot of e-commerce stores having. So essentially what this stems from is if all your products are always on sale 24/7, you're basically being Oprah where you're giving everyone a discount all the time. And there's a bunch of different issues for this. One, your customers see you as like a cheap or a discount area where they have no urgency when you actually have a real sale and they just think that's the real price. And then from Google's end, if every single product or a bunch of products or even like a handful of products are on sale all the time, they're going to disapprove you because this is essentially one of the factors that they look at to be like, oh, this is them being misleading on their site. Their actual price is X and they're just saying it's a sales price for eternity. So this is one issue that can get you actually banned from Google Merchant Center, surprisingly enough. Next is images on your website. So images sell. People can't actually physically touch your actual products. So you want to actually take your own photos, kind of like how I mentioned in the previous modules. You don't want to use stock images or from your supplier. Don't copy from anyone else. Google can date images. So whoever had the first original image will say, okay, this is either from the supplier or another branded store that you're just copying from. It doesn't like it. You don't want your store to essentially look like this, where it's just like spammy looking. Google can reverse image search. So make sure you're taking your own photos or sending it to a photographer. Cool. Everyone's favorite app for like stealing reviews is Luke's here. So this is one big thing that Google won't say specifically what apps banning your site, but this is definitely a huge red flag to Google, where you just import these reviews from Luke's or these other types of apps, where in reality you should be getting reviews on yourself from having a quality product, good customer experience, incentivizing people to leave reviews through email flows, or incentivizing them through discounts, or giving them free product to leave an honest review. That's how you should be getting reviews, not importing through Luke's and dropshipping types of vibes from that. Okay, now into contact information. So this is one big thing that people typically get when they get disapproved from Google, is essentially either having an email, physical address, and phone number, at least 2 out of 3 of these, but you want to go over and beyond, honestly. So if you can get, obviously you want the email address that's for your business domain. A physical address is a little tougher for people. You don't want to put your personal address, obviously, so you don't get swatted or something. But there's certain services where you can use like a virtual office. You can pick a certain city, and it'll actually be in a physical office. It'll be like almost like a PO box where you can say you are. But essentially that will help Google legitimize you, honestly. And having a phone number where you either pick up the phone at certain times of the day, or I know some people just have where people can leave voice recordings. You can follow up like that when you're available. So you can't just have a contact form, essentially. So you want to go over and beyond, so people can contact you, or chat forms. All this type of stuff will go beyond for what Google really wants you to do. Yep, so kind of like I mentioned, no Gmail domains, no private home addresses. Make sure you can get an office address if possible. And when you're putting this contact information, make sure it's the same throughout wherever you're listing your products. Sometimes people will go on listing sites for their e-commerce products, or they'll have different marketplaces where they'll put their products, and there'll be different business domains. So you don't want this to be different. You want Google Merchant Center to be the most accurate, up-to-date information of your physical address, contact email, contact form, response times, like all this types of stuff you should have consistently across the internet, and add to the contact page, footer, and if you can, the header as well, because that makes it very easy for people to reach out to you. I know a lot of people that are starting don't want people to reach out, so they have as little operational drag as possible, but you want, if you have questions, for them to easily be able to find you. All right, now into long shipping time. So this is like the death blow of a lot of drop shipping. So shipping times over 1 week honestly indicates a poor shipping experience, because with Amazon and all these other like branded stores that have actual warehouses, this will tell Google there's a high chance that you're drop shipping, even if you have branded products and images. You want to either get a supplier that's in your target country, so you have faster shipping times, or you do print on demand or something, because you really don't want this to be one of the factors you're getting disapproved. Kind of like I said, get local suppliers or faster shippings. All right, now into plugins, apps, and bad code. So this can also cause suspension. So if you have an app that is compromised or has a hack, or your website isn't HTTPS secured, this is typically unlikely with Shopify stores, but this is another thing to look into. And you'll get banned for like malicious code on Google Ads, and then Google Merchant Center that could suspend you as well. There's certain ways to reach out to the Google support to actually figure out what app that is, but this is mostly an unlikely problem. But look at the reviews for apps and see if there's any problems. And like, if you really can't figure it out and you're getting this error, then just deactivate all apps so you know exactly what is causing it. All right, now into payment methods. So this is important because if you don't have the actual written out, like what types of payment methods you accept at the bottom of your site, which is typically added on Shopify, but if you like deactivate it for whatever reason for aesthetics, you want to reactivate it, but you want to make sure people can know exactly how they can pay and be as direct as possible with these payment methods, fees, and anything like that. So this isn't a factor of like why you're not getting approved on Google Merchant Center either. And this should also be in your terms and conditions page. Okay, now finally onto requesting the review after going through all that. So you want to make sure you fix all the yellow warnings before requesting a review. So if you don't have a gender or color for certain products, but it's not an actual disapproval, you want to fix all these things before requesting a review, because these all add into the quality score, like kind of like how I discussed before. So like all parts are important there. And before you actually even request a review, sometimes it could be helpful to even call Google on some of their support numbers. And I'll put below like the different call numbers that you can use depending on your country to get as much as possible from Google, so you can really understand, like, if you go read all this stuff and you're still not sure, you're still not getting approved, or you have a very like unique situation, you can call them. I typically like to chat with Google because it's faster, you get less of a canned response than if you email. And email can be the last resort if they don't have any support because of either it's an off hour that you're asking or they're really backed up. All right, so now when you're first making a review, Google's going to be checking the Google Merchant Center account, obviously, the product feed, and then your actual website, kind of like how we discussed. If it's going to do a manual review there. Your Google Merchant Center account will be in pending while this is happening and the review is occurring. And if you break it into the policies, your account will be suspended and you'll just get an automated email from Google, where most likely will be templated unless you do one of the methods of calling them or chatting with them, or that it could possibly give you more insights, or just go through my checklist where you can see specifically where you could be messing up, or go back to the other part of the video where you think you could have slipped up on. And you'll get a warning. You'll still have 7 days to fix your ads while they're live. So you're basically on the countdown to fix them so that you don't lose revenue or market share after the first review. Also, if you don't, so certain countries, you might not see a review button. You can go to this link here, which I'll put in the description, of how to contact to manually request a review of a suspended account, so that you can actually go through this process and have that 7 days of leeway to essentially run ads while Google's reviewing it, and they can actually give you insight after you fix all these things that we talked about in this course. And there's about a 7 day cool period if you don't actually get the accounts actually fixed and unsuspended. You'll have to wait another week before you can do it again. After you make those additional changes that Google would recommend. All right, so this is it's essentially the final chance. If Google sends you an email saying, okay, you've done this like 3 or 4 times, you can't essentially get a new account because you've sent it to us so many times, you're wasting resources. You'll essentially have to create a new business to create a new Google Merchant Center account, which is like the worst case scenario. And there are certain circumstances where you can call Google if it's like super rare that they're sending you this email because of your niche or whatever it is. But most of the time, you're going to have to create a new account. So your email domain will be banned. Your actual website will be banned. The physical address, so if you use the virtual address, that's going to be banned. You're going to need a new one of those. Your whole IP address. These companies are very smart, so they know the IPs, the credit card, obviously, that you used. So you essentially need a new e-commerce business for all of these, and you'll need to use a VPN whenever you're logging into your Google Ads account, Google Merchant Center, and whatnot. So if you're already an established e-commerce business, which I doubt it, if you're getting suspended, you shouldn't do all these things, and maybe Google Merchant Center isn't right for you. But if you're a brand new, you don't have that much clout within your actual niche and your brand, and you know Google Shopping where your competitors are, and it's worth the margin, then definitely you'll have to create a new business, log into a VPN at all times, new credit card, new virtual address, all this stuff will be worth it. But this is like the worst case scenario. So like I said, not worth it if you already have a big brand. Okay, now looking towards the future, now that we've looked at all this stuff, you always want to be future pacing and making sure you don't ever get in this situation again. So understand Google's rules for advertising. You should honestly like take 30 minutes to an hour a day. A week to look at like Google's reviews for advertising specifically in your niche or just overall. Don't do dropshipping if you can. Like start to buy products, do a hybrid mix of if you have a winner, bring that product in so you don't have long shipping times, and then add accessories as drop shipped. Make sure your website is branded and professional. Always be improving your website. Don't just like make it once in the afternoon. Focus on the ads in the Google Merchant Center and then wonder why you're not converting. And you shouldn't have to be suspended to like actually look at this stuff. Like being suspended is like the worst case. You want to be like always trying to give your customers the best experience, go over and beyond of Google's like standard average recommendations, and check your Google Merchant Center at least like once a week. Like I would just make it like a 15-minute task to see like, oh, do you have any warnings? Work on fixing them. Do you have any disapprovals? Definitely work on fixing those. So that's how you essentially would avoid suspensions in the future. All right, if you found this video helpful, leave a like. And if you have any additional questions, leave a comment below in the comment section. And if you want me to personally review your e-commerce store to help you generate more sales, book a free consultation call with me personally below.